We're playing with our letters to Santa mailbox. No letter. Are there any letters in there, Liberty? No. We're just like opening and. I just caught Liberty with my lip gloss. It's actually her color, so that was good. Have you guys tried Marc Jacobs makeup? This is not an ad, but I really like their mascara for what it's worth. Expensive, but very good. If mascara is the only thing you're doing, try it out. It's like $20. But I'm pretty serious about my mascara, as I think we should all be, except for right now. Hey, Linda, good to see you. Okay, guys, 3 things I think you should know for today. I know we're kind of easing into the holiday. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sort of like, want to make sure we get some of the hard news out of the way, because later on in the week, I think we're all going to be ready just to like turn everything off. Am I right? So let me get through a couple real basic stories that I think you should know about that really set us up for 2019. And I think are just going to make us feel good to feel informed. So we have pictures all over the floor. Our entire floor is this one big mural, which I like, except that the markers are getting on the floor.
You're making a gigantic mess. Stop doing that right now.
But I want to draw it.
You're not drawing.
It's hard when you want to be an artist. Do you hear that? Okay. So here's some of the more serious stories. Let's start with healthcare. Did you guys see the ruling on Friday? It came out late Friday that a judge in Texas, a federal judge, ruled that the healthcare law was unconstitutional. Here's the background to that. 20 states were challenging the healthcare law. We've seen many challenges to the healthcare law, including the one that went to the Supreme Court shortly after the healthcare law was passed. And the Supreme Court ruled, yes, we can have this healthcare law, commonly referred to as Obamacare, because of Congress's power to tax. And the reason for that is that as part of the healthcare law, you would be taxed or have a penalty. They call it a tax. The Supreme Court said this is a tax if you did not sign up for healthcare. And so that was the way that the Supreme Court said, no, we can totally do this law. This law is 100% legal under Congress's power to tax. Last year, Congress removed the penalty and said, we're not going to, the healthcare law is powerful. People are signing up. We don't believe the Republican-controlled Congress. We don't believe in this tax. But under that was a real question about if you remove the tax, if it would weaken the law. And that's what we saw from this federal judge, also a conservative judge, I should mention. So the federal judge said, listen, if you take away Congress's power to tax, you take away the penalty part of this law, then the law overall is unconstitutional, because the only reason the Supreme Court upheld this law is because of Congress's power to tax. So if you remove the power to tax, you remove the penalty, then the law cannot exist as it stands. So what does that mean for us right now? We don't really know. The law, right, is still the healthcare law of the land. This challenge will continue. It could go back to the Supreme Court. Remember, you don't, Liberty, don't do that. You don't charge, you would never see the same case brought twice. That's in our Bill of Rights. We read our card this past weekend. But it's important to watch that going into next year, because it is legally an interesting argument. Do we have a healthcare law if the penalty is gone? The penalty was very important because it was the incentive, or supposedly the incentive, for younger people and healthier people to buy healthcare, and that would help balance out the whole market. Okay, if you have any questions on that, let us know. Hey, LJ, great to see you. Okay. So that's something I think you should know about. So tuck that in your back pocket. We might get an interesting challenge to the healthcare law next year. We'll see. Okay. Second thing I think you should know about today, and this is going to be a big story going into 2019 as well. I don't know if you saw the headlines about America airstrikes on Al-Shabaab in Africa. Al-Shabaab is an arm or a branch of Al-Qaeda in Africa. It's one of many different branches operated in that continent. You have a branch in Libya, you have a branch in Somalia, you have a branch Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and Yemen. These branches are all very dangerous. The chaos that is part of the political conflicts in the areas where they are, in Somalia or Yemen, provide kind of the safe haven for Al-Qaeda branches to operate freely. And they can really take over a lot of land and cause a lot of havoc. extremely dangerous. So American airstrikes took out about 60 al-Shabaab operatives in Somalia. The bigger picture I want you to take away from this is just simply to know that America's fight against Al-Qaeda continues. I think often we forget that it's happening because it's not in front of us, but especially some of these different branches in Africa, like the one in Yemen, these were the branches that were behind, for example, the these were, do you remember several years ago, the underwear bomber, Christmas Day?
Yeah.
You remember? You weren't bored. But that was super scary. That plot came from Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and Yemen. And so these are why we're constantly keeping an eye on these different branches, because there is concern, you know, could they coalesce again and attack the United States?
Mommy!
Hold on one second. Uh-oh. Also, just remember, an American soldier died fighting al-Shabaab in Somalia during a raid this year, and an American soldier also died in Afghanistan fighting Al-Qaeda. So American soldiers are dying still in this fight, and still Al-Qaeda remains an enemy. We're going to watch that fight in 2019, especially because of this. America is continuing to negotiate with Taliban representatives. And there are those that say Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are totally separate. But there are very smart people that say these are partners, these are allies. So while we're taking the fight to Al-Qaeda in Africa, we're also negotiating with potentially their partner, the Taliban. And so I want you to kind of put together those pieces, okay? So we'll continue to watch that. And finally, today in history was the day that the Nutcracker debuted in the Russian ballet. I know. And we had a contributor, Jean Marie, who happens to be a ballerina, who helped us with this story. And a couple things I just want you to know about this is that the Nutcracker really became a Christmas tradition in America when it was televised. The New York City Ballet, a famous choreographer and founder of the New York City Ballet, put together the Nutcracker in the 1950s, and then CBS televised it on Christmas Day in the late 1950s. That was just one of the reasons that it caught on as a Christmas tradition. And now, I thought this was such a good point Jean Marie made, was that it's really the first experience that many young people have with classical music or ballet. And here's an interesting note, that the Nutcracker performances often support up to 40% of the income for any ballet. So the Nutcracker and the popularity of it helps support other ballet performances throughout the year. And one wonders, you know, if you didn't have the success of the Nutcracker, if ballet would be able to continue at the level it is in America, which I didn't even know about. I thought that was a really interesting, smarter fact. So we covered a lot of ground: healthcare, terrorism, and ballet. But that's exactly what Smarter News is about. Thank you again for all your sugar cookie recipes. I'm going to put them all together. I'm trying to find a fun fact about cookie consumption during the holidays. And then I'm going to put all your really great cookie recipe recommendations together so you guys can have them for each other, which I think is a way that we can make each other smarter. Do you see how this is going to evolve? It's going to be great. Liberty, can you say Merry Christmas? Can you say Merry Christmas? Okay, she's just gonna stick out her tongue. I mean, what are you gonna do? That's mommy's lipstick. Okay, guys, and that's very hot. All right, see you guys later. Have a great day.